The next lesson in Unit 2 polynomials is the fourth factoring method we're going to be going over, which is we're going to be factoring trinomials, but they're going to be special ones. We're going to be factoring trinomials when the leading coefficient is greater than 1. So the first 7 problems I think we did in the last lesson, all the numbers in front of that x squared was a 1. So these next, let's see, 4 or 5 problems we're going to be doing, the number that's out in front of that x squared, in front of that quadratic term, is going to be greater than 1. So that the way that these are done are a little bit different. So let's take a look at number 1. The directions will say factor. I've got 2x squared plus 9x plus 10. 2x squared plus 9x plus 10. First thing you're looking for is a GCF. I don't see a GCF. So you're going to take this number and multiply it to this number. So 2 times 10 is 20. We're going to put the word multiply here. Now I'm going to list the factor pairs of 20. I've got 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. I'm looking for 9. That's right here. Now you're not going to write x plus 4 and x plus 5. What you're going to do is you bring down that first term. Bring it down. Instead of writing 9x, I'm going to put plus 4x plus 5x. So I'm taking these two numbers and putting them here. And then I'm going to bring down the 10. Now I have 4 terms. This looks like grouping to me. So there's no GCF. That means I can group. I've got 4 terms. I'm going to group these two together. I'm going to group these two together. That has to be a plus here. The first parentheses, I'm going to take out a 2x. 2 divided by 2 cancels. X divided by x is x. 4 divided by 2 is 2. The x's cancel. Let's take a look at the second set of parentheses. I've got a 5. That's the GCF. When I take out the 5, I'm left with 5 divided by 5 is 1. The x comes down. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Remember with grouping, once you take out that GCF, you're looking to make sure that those parentheses are the same, which they are. So that means my next step is to group those two together. So 2x plus 5. And then I have x plus 2. So 2x plus 5 and x plus 2. Number 2. Let's try another one just like this. Number 2, I've got 3a squared plus 13a plus 4. First thing I'm looking for is a GCF. I don't see it. Let's start to multiply. So I've got 3 times 4. That's giving us 12. Let's list the factor pairs. I've got 1 and 12. 2 and 6, 3 and 4. I'm looking for 13. Well, that's the very first one. So I'm going to bring down that 3a squared. Instead of writing 13a, I'm going to put plus 1a plus 12a plus 4. Let's put parentheses around the first 2 terms, the last 2 terms. I've got my plus there. My GCF of the first parentheses is a. I'm left with 3a plus 1. My second parentheses, I can take out a 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3, so that's 3a plus 4 divided by 4 is 1. I'm going to group what's on the outside together. So I've got a plus 4 times 3a plus 1. So a plus 4 plus times 3a plus 1. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. I've got 3x squared plus 2x minus 8. So 3x squared plus 2x minus 8. I'm going to do 3 times negative 8. That's a negative. So I'm getting negative 24. Instead of me listing all the factor pairs of negative 24, if I think about what factor pair is going to give me a positive 2, that's going to be negative 4 and 6. So that 3x squared comes down. Instead of 2x, I'm going to write minus 4x plus 6x and then minus 8. Now it's time to group. So let's group the first 2 terms, the last 2 terms, make sure there's a plus. Let's take out the x. I'm left with 3x minus 4. Let's take out a 2 here. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3x, 8. Negative 8 divided by 2 is a negative 4. Let's group what's on the outside together. So I've got x plus 2 and then 3x minus 4. And we'll do one more problem. Number 4. So number 4, we've got 6a squared minus 13a plus 5. So 6a squared minus 13a plus 5. I'm going to multiply that 6 and 5 together. That gives us 30. Now, it's a positive 30, but the middle term's negative. That means I need to list negative factors. So instead of me listing them all, I'm going to try to think which one's going to work. I'm going to do negative 3 and negative 10. So when I rewrite this, this is 6a squared. Instead of minus 13a, I'm going to put minus 3a minus 10a plus 5. So 6a squared minus 3a minus 10a plus 5. Let's group away. Now be careful here. When I group this second set, that negative stays with the 10, and I've got to put a plus there. My first GCF is 3a, so I'm going to take out a 3a. 6 divided by 3 is 2. The 2 minus 1 is giving us a to the first. 3a divided by 3a is 1. Now, if I take a look here, this is a positive, this is a negative. This is a negative, this is a positive. These have to have the same signs. The first terms in the parentheses have to have the same sign, and the second terms in the parentheses have to have the same sign, which they don't. So that's telling me I've got to factor out a negative. So if I factor out a negative 5, let's see what happens. Negative 10 divided by negative 5 is a positive 2a. Negative 5, a positive 5 divided by a negative 5 is a negative 1. Perfect. Now I have exactly what I want. So I've got 3a minus 5 times 2a minus 1. And that is factoring trinomials when the leading coefficient is greater than 1.